Hi, this is your host Habibur Rahman and welcome to my show Azure Essential series. In today's episode, we will talk about automating workflows with Azure Logic Apps. Azure Logic Apps is a cloud-based service in Microsoft Azure that allows users to automate workflows and integrate applications, data services, and systems. It provides a visual designer to build workflows with minimal code, enabling seamless integration and automation of various processes. Logic Apps helps in automating complex workflows without writing a significant amount of code, making it an excellent tool for developers, IT professionals, and business analysts. So let's start this. This is the agenda of our today episode. First of all, we will talk about key components of Azure Logic Apps. Then we will have overview of triggers, actions, and connectors for Azure Logic Apps. And at the end, we will have a hands-on demo for Logic Apps. So this is your host. I am a two times C Shop Corner MVP, Microsoft Certified Solution Developer, currently working as a lead software developer at Now Software. First of all, we will talk about key features of Azure Logic Apps. Visual Designer. Basically, Azure Logic Apps provide us a user-friendly interface to create workflows using a drag and drop designer. Uh, there is another major feature which is connectors. Basically, connectors are pre-built connectors for popular services like Azure Services, Microsoft 365, SQL Server, SAP, and more, enabling seamless integration. We also have triggers and actions in Azure Logic Apps. Basically, Logic Apps work based on triggers because these are event-based logic apps, and then events that start a workflow and actions that follow after the trigger, allowing for event-driven automation. So you can make event-driven application using Azure Logic Apps using triggers and actions. We have a built-in monitoring and alert system, which is basically integrated with monitoring and diagnostics to track workflow execution, troubleshoot issues, and set up alerts. Scalability and reliability. Basically, Azure Logic Apps are designed to handle large-scale workflows with high reliability and availability, supporting mission-critical business process. So basically, these are cloud-native applications. Next, we have triggers in Azure Logic Apps. A trigger is an event that starts a workflow in Azure Logic Apps. Each Logic app begins with a trigger which defines the condition or event that initiates the workflow. Triggers can be time-based, recurring on a schedule, or event-based, which basically responding to specific changes or measures. And there are a few types of trigger. First of all, we have HTTP trigger. Basically, HTTP triggers execute the workflow when a HTTP request is received. We also have recurrence triggers. Basically, recurrence triggers schedules the workflow to run at specific intervals, which may be every hour, day, or month. Then we have event-based triggers, which responds to specific events such as the arrival of an email, creation of a new file in Azure Blob Storage, or the addition of a new row in a SQL database. We also have webhook trigger, which initiate the workflow based on webhooks from external services or applications. We have API-based triggers, which invoked when an event occurs in another service or API, such as a new item in a SharePoint list or a message in a service bus queue. Next, we have actions in Azure Logic Apps. An action is a step or task that the workflow performs after it is triggered. Actions represent the operations that the workflow executes, such as sending an email, copying a file, or making an HTTP request. A logic app can contain multiple actions which can be arrange sequentially or conditionally to define complex workflows. And here are a few types of actions. First of all, we have control actions, which includes conditional logic, if else statement, loops, and scopes for handling organizational purposes. Then we have data operations, actions that manipulate data, such as composing, parsing, JSON, joining, or selecting data from arrays. We have built-in actions. Built-in actions are for built-in connectors like HTTP, SQL Server, Azure Blob Storage, and more. These actions allows interaction with a variety of data stores and services. We can also create custom actions for Azure Logic Apps. Custom code or logic created using Azure functions or custom APIs can be invoked as actions within a Logic app. We also have service integration actions, which help you to integrate with external services like Microsoft 365, Salesforce, Dynamics 365, and GitHub. So all these actions are available for Azure Logic Apps. Then we have connectors in Azure Logic Apps. Basically, connector is a pre-built operations that enable communication and interaction with external services. They can be used to either trigger a workflow or perform an action within a workflow. And then we have a few type of connectors. We have standard connectors. Basically, these are common connectors available for a wide range of services, including Office 365, Twitter, Dropbox, Salesforce, Azure services, etc. We also have premium connectors, connectors that provide access to advanced and enterprises grade services such as SAP, Oracle, and other specialized services. We can also create custom connectors that allow integration with proprietary systems or APIs which are not covered by existing connectors. Then we have like few popular connectors, Microsoft 365, Azure services, database, file storage services. So you can use any connector with your Azure Logic Apps actions. We have integration capabilities in Azure Logic Apps. First of all, we have cloud integration. Basically, Azure Logic Apps provides robust integration capabilities that enable the automation of workflows across multiple services, whether in the cloud or on premises. And first of all, we have cloud integration in that. Cloud integration provides service to service communication, which can help you to connect different cloud services and APIs. For example, you can integrate with Azure Blob Storage with an Azure SQL database for automated ETL processes. You can also have data transformation, which supports data mapping and transformation using built-in data operations like parsing JSON, converting formats from CSV to JSON, and more. We have event-driven workflows, which responds to events from Azure Event Grid, Azure Service Bus, and other event sources, enabling real-time processing and automation. Next, we have on-premises integration. So on-premises data gateway allows secure integration with on-premises data and services. For example, you have your own application or you have your own SQL Server database and you want to communicate with that. So you can use on-premises data gateway for that hybrid integration scenarios. We also have hybrid connectivity, which facilitates workflows that span both on premises and cloud environments, supporting scenarios like data synchronizations and file transfers. And at the end, we have API management integration. So using APIs connector, you can customize APIs or Azure API management endpoints, which can be used as connectors enabling custom business logic and extending functionality. You can also use managed API gateway, which provides a secure, scalable, and manageable API gateway for exposing APIs, which can be integrated into Logic Apps workflows. And we have few use cases for Azure Logic Apps. For example, you can automating business process such as order processing and approval workflows. So you can create Azure Business Logic app, which can trigger whenever a new order is received in a database or using any message broker service, and then it can process and approve workflows by checking whether the stock is available or not. So you can make this custom workflow. Then you can also have an integration with different system and services like CRM, ERP databases, and cloud services. So there are a lot of scenarios which are possible using Azure Logic Apps. You can also send notification and alerts based on specific triggers or events. So in today episode, we will also have a hands-on demo, basically for getting or receiving an HTTP request and then sending an email to the customer. Okay. So in hands-on demo, first of all, I will create an Azure Logic app using Azure portal. Then we will start building. Then we will start using a built-in template. I will show you how many built-in templates are available for Azure workflows. You can also create your custom flows using Visual Designer or code. And at the end, we will run the Logic app. So let's start this. Let me share my screen. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. If you guys don't have an account with Azure, you can sign up with trial account, or you can sign up with student account. If you already have an account, please log in your account and go to home screen. Okay. So first of all, I need to create a resource, and this resource is related to Azure Logic Apps. So I will search it from here. I recently have created this, and here it is Logic Apps. So click on this Logic Apps. First of all, Azure is asking me for a hosting option. So there are different hosting options available which determine the resource allocation, scaling, and pricing for your app. We have three different types of hosting plans. First one is consumption, and the second two options comes under standard plan. First of all, in consumption plan, we have shared computing, and networking is public cloud, and pricing is pay per operation. And then inside standard, we have two plans. One is workflow service plan, and the second is app service environment V3. And both of these plans are basically dedicated computing, and they also provide virtual network integration. So if you are interested to communicate with your Azure Logic apps under a virtual network or VPN, then you have to use these standard workflows. But for my demo purpose, I will be using consumption plan. So this is good for my use case. So let's select this option. Okay. Now, first of all, for creating Logic app, I have to select a subscription which is pay as you go. Then I have to select the resource group. I will select AES. This is the pre-created resource group that I have made. Then we need to define Logic app name. So I can say that send email logic flow. So this logic flow will be basically receiving an HTTP request and then sending an Outlook email to the customer. And then we need to select the region. So basically this region drop down will define in which region you want to host your Azure Logic app. So you can select any of them. For example, I will select East US, and then you can enable log analytics. As I am not using standard plan, so I cannot select enable log analytics for this plan, but it's okay. Let's click on next. Here, this is tag options. Basically, tags are value name pairs that enable you to categorize your resources. For example, you are working with different projects and you want to tag your services, Azure services, according to project. So you can specify here as like this. So this is one option for categorizing your resources. So let's click on review and create option. And basically Azure is showing me the summary for the operation which I am going to perform. First of all, this is a logic app. Then we have subscription details, resource group, and then name of the logic app. So let's click on create button. So now basically Azure is initializing the deployment, and it will take few seconds to deploy Azure Logic app on server. So we have to wait for this. Okay, your deployment is complete. So let's go to the resource. Okay, so this is our logic app. So here you can see that this is the overview tab, and inside this we have basic detail for our Azure Logic app. So currently, if we see the definition of our Azure Logic app, there is no triggers and actions, and the Logic app is enabled, and the last 24 hours run history is 0. So currently, nothing have been run inside this. So you can see that there are a lot of options available, but we will click on get started. So here we have three options. First, in edit in designer. So by using this option, Azure will open basically a visual designer, and inside this I can create my custom workflows. We also have start from template option, and we also have quick starts. Okay, first of all, I will check the available templates for Azure Logic Apps Designer. There are multiple apps, or there are multiple built-in logic flows available. So let's do scroll down. Okay, here are a few common trigger which are showing here. For example, when a message is received in a service bus queue. So in this trigger, when a new message will be received inside Azure service bus queue, then this workflow will be triggered. These are basically all triggers. Then we have when a HTTP request is received, you can also use this trigger. When a new tweet is posted, so you can also create this when a new tweet is created on Twitter, and then you can perform any action based on that trigger. We also have triggers for event grade resources. We also have when a file is added to FTP server, when a new email is received in outlook.com. And we also have recurrence triggers. Recurrence triggers are basically schedules. For example, you can schedule a trigger which will be triggered after every 5 minutes. So you can use any trigger from this. Then we have a few templates. For example, we have delete old Azure blobs. So these templates will delete old Azure blobs. We can specify a date, and all the blobs which are uh, older than that date, that will be deleted. So you can use this workflows for many use cases. We also have HTTP request response. So you can see that a lot of workflows are available here. Okay, so let's start this from Logic App Designer. So here you can see that Azure opens Logic App Designer. This is basically a visual designer. You can also view the code of this designer by clicking on Logic App Code View. Okay, so you can see that this code is basically a JSON file, and here you can define all the triggers, all the actions, and all the parameters which are required for actions and triggers. So let's start this from Logic App Designer. First of all, I will add a trigger. So basically, trigger will tell my app when to start running. Each workflow needs at least one trigger. So basically, we need an entry point or a start point for our Azure Logic apps. So click on this, add a trigger. So here you can see that a lot of triggers are available. But let's select in-app option so that I can see limited options, which the triggers from Azure. Okay, so I will select request, and this trigger is basically when a HTTP request is received. So in start, I want to set a trigger when HTTP request is made, send an email. So click on this. Okay, so here you can see that there are few parameters for this trigger. First of all, URL. So this URL basically will be generated automatically on save. I don't have to specify this. And then we can also have delete, get, patch, post, and put request. So let's click on get options, basically so that I can easily trigger this from my browser instead of using any HTTP request tool like Postman. And then we have request body JSON schema. So inside this, if you have a post request or put request, you can set a JSON schema. Schema is basically tells which type of data in which format will be received from the request. So as I am using get method, so I don't need any request body JSON schema. We also have settings for our Azure trigger. We have schema validation. So you can enable this schema validation, and if the request body is not same as schema, it will show HTTP 400 error. We can also have concurrency control. We also have networking options and security options. So as we are only exploring the essentials of Azure Logic App, so uh, we will create a very simple scenario. We also have code view. So here you can also change your trigger by using the code. And then we have about section about this connector. Okay, so let's save this. Okay, my Logic App Designer have been saved, and if I click on this again, you can see that an HTTP URL have been generated. So let's click on copy, and I want to check whether my Logic App is running or not. So I can click on run history. Okay, so currently you can see that my run history is empty. There is no runs. So if I open a new tab, paste the URL and click on enter. Okay, so as this was an HTTP GET request without any response, so you can see that this is showing okay in my browser. And if I comes here and refresh the run history, so you can see that the status is succeeded, and the time it takes to complete the workflow was 144 milliseconds. So if I click on this, So now this will show me more details about the request. If I click on this, so this is showing me input parameters, which was basically an get request. This was the output of the request. These were the properties. So these are all settings. Okay. Now next step is, this was basically a trigger for my Azure Logic app. Now next option is to create an action. Basically, we want to insert a step which will tell what need to be done after this request is received. So click on plus button, and here we have add an action option. So here you can add any action which will be performed on receiving an HTTP request. So I want to send an Outlook email. So I will search for Outlook. So here you can see that different Outlook options are available. First of all, we have create contact, create event, send an email. So you can perform any operation from this. We also have Microsoft Office, Office 365 Outlook, and a lot of other options available. So I will select send an email. Okay. For sending an email, basically, I need to create a connection between my Outlook account and Azure Logic App. So click on signing in. Okay, so this is basically redirecting me to OAuth of Microsoft. I already have logged in with the account, so it doesn't take so much time. So here you can see that if I goes to parameters, first of all, I need to specify two. Basically, I need to specify the email where I want to send the email. I have subject and then I have body. So inside subject, for example, I want to send email to my own Gmail account. So I will say I'm habibur@gmail.com. And inside the subject, I will say sending email from Azure Logic Apps action, and inside body I can say hello world. Okay. Currently, I'm not using any dynamic body or any dynamic code to make it simple. So let's click on save button. Okay. Now let's go to run history. So you can see that currently only one run history is showing. So let's come here, click on refresh or select and enter again, so that we can trigger one Azure Logic app workflow again. Click on enter. Okay, succeeded. So let's refresh this. So currently my Azure workflow is running. Okay, the operation have been completed. So if I click on this, so now you can see that this time it is showing me two things. First of all, HTTP request is received, then send an email. So here it is showing me an email was sent using Outlook. So here is the body to subject, and this operation was succeeded. So now if I go to my Gmail account, click on refresh. Okay, so here you can see that I have received an email from my Outlook account, and the subject of is sending email from Azure Logic App section, and the body is hello world. So if I click on show details, you can see that this email was received from my Outlook account. So this is how you can trigger an action whenever an HTTP request is received. Okay, so let's add few more things inside our Azure Logic app. So there is an option to click another action. So here you can see that there are two options. We can create an action which will be running before sending an email, and then we have an option add a parallel branch. So let's click on add a parallel branch, and inside this I want to. Okay, so there are a lot of options we can perform. For example, let's see this for Azure storage. What actions are available for that? So here you can see that for Azure file storage, we have create file, copy file, delete file. We also have for Azure blob, Azure database for MySQL, Azure table storage, Azure logic apps. So you can also trigger another logic app from this as well. We also have Azure OpenAI. Okay, so you can select any option from this. But let's make it simple, because if I use any other services, I have to create them as well. But let's check for Outlook what I can do. So there is an option for create event. Okay. So for example, whenever a new HTTP request is received, I want to create a new event inside my calendar. Here I can give a subject start time, end time. For example, I can say Azure Essential Series episode 12, and here I can give it a time. For example, I want to give it a UTC time. Why this is not saving? Let's give it. Here you can see that we also have dynamic content option. For example, you can pause the data from body, headers, or queries as well. But I'm not interested for that for now. Okay, so the option is hiding behind this. So click on add, and here is the end time. So I can say that add time will be 1 hour. So the new event will be created with UTC now time, and the ending time will be plus 1 hour. Okay. So everything is okay. Let's click on save. Currently it is giving me an error. The template validation failed. So it is giving me an error for UTC now dot add hours. So let's edit it again. Let's remove the existing one, save it again. Again, this is giving me an error. Okay, so basically I'm making mistake in parentheses. Let's give it the same time for now. Click on add button, and click on save. Hit the HTTP URL again. Okay, let's go to run history. Okay, now this time it takes only 3 seconds. Okay, so you can see that all two operations have been completed. If I click on create event, so this is showing me event have been created. So here inside body, you can see that I have received different options. First of all, subject, start time, end time. And this is a free show. There is no recurrence. We also have ID of the show. So we have all the details which have been inside the calendar. Okay. So let me check. So there is a new email that I have received. Now I can check the my Outlook. Basically, I want to verify whether the new calendar event have been created or not. Okay. So if I click on calendar, so here you can see that an event have been created. This event name is Azure Essential Series Episode 12. Start and end time is same. So let's delete this. Okay. So you can see that using Azure Logic Apps, how easily you can create custom workflows according to your requirements. We have few other options available here. If I go to Logic Apps code view to show you how currently it is looking. Okay, so you can see that first of all we have actions, and there are two actions available: create event, send an email, and each action have his own inputs and types. We also have triggers here. You can see that when an HTTP trigger is received, and at the end we have connectors. So these are basically connectors which connect Azure Logic Apps with other Microsoft services or any custom services. Okay, so we have few other tabs. Let's explore them. Here are the variants of our Azure Logic app. Whenever you will save a new Azure Logic app, a variant will be created and you can access the old variant from here. So here you can see designer and view code of old variant. So you can track what have been changed inside your Azure workflow and what's going on. We also have API connectors. This basically shows which API connections are associated with the Logic app. So currently I only have connected with Outlook. So only one API connection is showing here, which is Outlook. So if I click on this API connection, this will show me all the details for my Outlook connection. We have also workflow settings. It's taking a little bit time. Okay, so here you can see that we can allow inbound IP addresses. So I can specify which IP address can trigger my app. Currently, any IP can access it, but you can specify a specific range of IPs or the IP address which can trigger your application. We can also have integration account setting. So these are different options available for this. There are another option for setting retention days. So currently I have set the retention days default, but if you want to select a custom days, for example, how many days you want to save your run history, so you can save it from 7 days to 1 year, which is basically 365 days. Okay. We also have authorization option, and inside authorization, you can add Active Directory policies for communicating with Azure Logic Apps. We also have access keys. So here you can generate access fees for communicating with Azure Logic Apps using Azure Logic Apps APIs. So these are different options available. And inside monitoring, we have alert options. So as we are using consumption plan for our Azure Logic app, so you can create an alert. For example, uh, when there is any specific thing coming, for example, the CPU is taking too much time, you can create an alert for this. We have metrics and we have logs as well for Azure Logic apps. So a lot of options available. You can explore them by playing with them. So this is the best thing to learn about these things. So if I click on logs, so here inside logs, currently no tables are showing because I have not enabled these logs for my Azure Logic apps. This is only available for standard option. So you can see the logs. If any error is coming while running your Azure Logic workflow, then that will be showing here and you can diagnose your application. Okay. So this was hands-on experience for creating Azure workflows. We have, first of all, we have created Azure Logic app. We have also explored built-in templates, and then we have created a custom workflow, which was basically getting an HTTP request and then sending an email and creating an event on Microsoft Outlook. So in next episode, which is basically 13 of Azure Essential series, we will explore Azure Notification Hubs, a powerful tool for sending push notifications to millions of users across multiple platforms. And in this episode, we will guide you through setting up and managing notification hubs, integrating with your application, and optimizing your notification delivery strategies. And this one is perfect for mobile app developers, back-end developers, and solution architects, which are aiming to enhance their engagement through timely notifications. So thank you so much for being part of C Shop Corner Islamabad chapter. If you are interested to see the previous episodes of this show, you can access it from C Shop Corner /live/Azure Essentials. And if you are interested to see the previous code, you can access my GitHub account, github.com/habib-developer/Azure Essential series. And thank you so much again. Hopefully see you in next episode. Have a good day. Bye bye.